The sun over Marco Island usually promised a sense of serenity, but for Mario Correal and Deidre and Weiser, the warmth of Florida had become the backdrop for a complicated legal dance. The story began in the year 2020, a time of global uncertainty when two souls found a connection across the miles. Mario was an established man of business, a pillar of his local community who operated Mario's neighborhood bar and grill along with a building supply company. Deidre was a nurse living in Ohio, raising her 14-year-old son and looking for a fresh start. Their meeting sparked a flame that led to a life-altering choice. Within 3 or 4 months of their initial encounter, they decided that Deidre and her son should relocate to the Sunshine State. By August of 2021, just as the school bells were preparing to ring for a new academic year, Deidre and her teenage son boarded a plane. They left behind the familiar streets of Ohio to build a future in Florida. Deidre kept her residence in Ohio for holidays and visits, but her heart was set on making a home with Mario. She integrated herself into his world, trading her nursing scrubs for the responsibilities of managing Mario's bar. She cleaned, she shopped for supplies, and she even lent her hand to the administrative side of his building supply business, handling sales tax and various paperwork. Every 2 weeks, she received a check for $1,100 and some change, a modest salary for her efforts. Mario provided a lifestyle of comfort, purchasing a Jeep for her use and covering the down payment and insurance. For a time, the arrangement seemed to work, even as the world navigated the lingering shadows of the pandemic year. However, as the months turned into years, the foundation of their relationship began to crack. The age gap of 25 years brought with it different expectations of social life and freedom. Mario, perhaps set in his ways as a businessman and provider, established rules that Deidre found increasingly stifling. One such rule was a curfew of 11:30 in the evening. Mario expected her home by that hour, regardless of whether her son was away on spring break in Ohio or if she was simply out with friends. The irony was not lost on Deidre, as Mario's own business interests kept him to bar until the early hours of the morning. Last calls at 1 and closing duties at 2 meant he often did not return home until 3 in the morning. The tension simmered beneath the surface of their engagement. In December 2022, just 2 days before Christmas, Mario sought to solidify their bond by presenting Deidre with an engagement ring valued at $30,000. It was a magnificent gesture intended to signify a permanent commitment. Yet, even as the diamond caught the light, the seeds of their final conflict were being sown. Mario had provided Deidre with a credit card to handle household expenses, groceries, and bar supplies. On the 6th day of January, 2023, Deidre used that card to purchase a luxury Gucci bag for $2,200. Deidre claimed that she had asked for permission and that Mario had given a verbal agreement at the building supply office, joking about the purchase with his staff. Mario, however, maintained that he was entirely unaware of the transaction until the credit card statement arrived nearly 4 weeks later. The arrival of that bill triggered a confrontation. Mario could not reconcile the purchase of a $2,200 bag so soon after his $30,000 investment in an engagement ring. Deidre, on the other hand, felt a sense of neglect during the holiday season, noting that while she had purchased 25 gifts for him, he had given her nothing other than the ring. The relationship reached its breaking point in March of 2023. On the 12th day of March, while Mario was traveling to Maryland for business equipment, Deidre attended a country concert on the island. There, she met a man who would soon become a pivotal figure in her life. This new acquaintance, aware of the growing friction in her home, offered Deidre and her son a room in his condo. The following day, March 13, 2023, the domestic situation turned from strained to impossible. Mario allegedly locked Deidre out of the home, forcing her to enter through the garage. Fearing for her stability and seeking a way out, Deidre made the decision to leave for good. When she departed, she did not go empty-handed. She packed up her belongings and several items from the home that had been purchased with Mario's credit card. These items included a king-size set of bed linens, 3 sets of bath towels, a set of silverware, a toaster, and a pizza pan. Many of these items were still in their original boxes, brand new and intended for the condo Mario had purchased for them. This act of departure set the stage for Case 3062 in the Court of Judy Justice. The courtroom was a place of stark reality where Judge Judy presided with her signature blend of patience and sharp observation. Mario Corrale stood as a plaintiff, seeking the return of his property and reimbursement for the unauthorized charges. Deidre and Weiser stood as a defendant, now living with a man who had become her new fiancé. The judge listened as the details of their 3-year journey were laid bare. She questioned the timeline of their move, the nature of their working arrangement, and the specifics of the items taken. Deidre admitted to taking the linens, towels, and kitchen items, arguing that they were extras and that she needed them for her new living situation. However, the judge was firm in her interpretation of the law. Moving out of a shared residence does not grant a person a right to take items that were purchased by another, especially when those items were intended for the home they were leaving behind. The most significant point of contention remained the Gucci bag. The judge scrutinized the text messages and the testimonies. While Deidre insisted there was an agreement, the lack of a clear, written response from Mario regarding the luxury item worked against her. Mario, for his part, struggled to provide the exact valuation of the household items he lost. As a man who had never personally shopped for linens or towels, he could not produce the receipts required to prove their specific costs. He spoke of his generosity and his care for Deidre and her son, expressing a deep sense of hurt that his efforts to provide a comfortable life had ended in such a manner. He felt that he had been used, noting that Deidre had found a new fiancé and moved on within a mere 6 weeks of their separation. Judge Judy, recognizing the emotional weight of the case, focused on the tangible evidence. She dismissed the claims for the towels, linens, and silverware due to the lack of receipts, but she held Deidre accountable for the Gucci bag. The judgment was issued in favor of Mario Corrale for the amount of $2,200. As the session ended and the court adjourned, both parties were left to reflect on the lessons learned. Mario walked away with a legal victory but a heavy heart, realizing that his generosity had perhaps clouded his judgment. He acknowledged that he might have been gullible, but he remained committed to moving forward with more wisdom. Deidre accepted the ruling, ready to pay back the cost of the bag and continue her new life. The story was a reminder of the complexities of human relationships, the importance of clear communication, and the necessity of maintaining one's dignity even when love turns into a legal battle. It was a narrative of growth, resilience, and the understanding that sometimes the most expensive lessons are the ones that lead to the most profound personal evolution. Both individuals left the courtroom that day, stepping back into Florida sun, each seeking a path toward a brighter and more honest future.